He wants to make sure it doesn't stand in Wisconsin's way to drug test food stamp recipients. Lisa Booth says his moves will save taxpayers money. Marjorie Clifton disagrees. Marjorie, first to you. You have a problem with drug testing food stamp recipients?
Well, there's two issues with this. It's one, that they're the practicality. Actually, in states like Florida and other states that have tried similar things, they've seen absolutely no return and no proof that there is any money that's to be made. In fact, the cost for welfare stayed the same. The question is, will the cost of drug testing someone outweigh the savings and maybe finding a couple of addicts in there? But then there's another piece of this, and this is the emotional, for me as a Christian. How do we penalize drug addicts when we know that taking away things like food stamps might mean their children are kept from getting food? And how do we say carte blanche, cast judgment on anyone who's got any kind of drug addiction? We know things like human trafficking and a lot of things that happen in youth environments, foster children, things like that, where drugs are given involuntarily. It is very hard for me to think that it's okay to say carte blanche. Anyone who is given a drug addict claim is withdrew food. We shouldn't have people in the U.S.
Lisa, your response to that, please.
Well, Stuart, I think any cost associated with the drug testing would be a drop in the bucket compared to the $1 trillion per year we spent on over 100 different anti-poverty programs. And the reason why people like Governor Scott Walker so much is because he's very unafraid. He's unafraid to reform. He's unafraid to shake things up, and he's unafraid to try to make things better. And I think that's what he's doing in Wisconsin here. What he's trying to do is to bring people from dependency and make them independent. He's trying to give people a hand up, not a hand out. And that's why he's put in worker programs to try to incentivize people to work. And I don't think drug testing should be controversial at all.
But there is an element of principle involved here. Why should you get free food from the government if you're abusing drugs at the same time? I mean, doesn't that restrict your ability to get out there and get a job and do it right? Marjorie, to you first.
I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I do agree with the fairness thing. It does seem like a hard thing for us to understand. Why would we allow a drug addict to have food that costs us money? The problem, again, is in the practicality. One, there is no proof of savings. And two, do we put that label on any and every person? How do we know that someone that isn't in the active process of trying to rehab themselves isn't also still needing food? Again, it's not a black and white thing. I think this is political campaigning and posturing, and I understand it for the political season.
Lisa, you don't seem terribly enthusiastic about drug testing food stamp recipients. I mean, you're not exactly gung-ho about it, are you? You seem to want more to reform the whole welfare system as opposed to just go gung-ho with drug testing.
Well, I do think we need to reform the whole system because I don't think it's working. That's as evidenced by the fact that poverty is higher now than it was when we launched the war on poverty 15 years ago. So I absolutely think there's welfare reforms to be put in place. But look, there shouldn't be anything controversial about drug testing. Look, 57% of businesses across America drug employees, college athletes are drug tested, even high school athletes are drug tested. So the idea that this somehow attaches a stigma or this is some sort of hugely negative thing is ludicrous.
Marjorie, last point to you.
No, I agree 100% with her on the idea of saying requiring someone to be drug tested is not unreasonable. What I do argue is the practicality, and it doesn't actually save money. If it did, that'd be a different thing. I think a new system is needed all around, and new programs agreed on the poverty issue.
At last. Agreement from all of us. All good stuff. Marjorie, Lisa, thank you very much. It's a good debate.
Thank you, Stuart.
And it will continue. Thanks, Alex. Question. Are cities like San Francisco